Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny, that is Sal, and today we've got a guest. He goes by E-Man, and he brings you movie reviews on his YouTube channel, and he actually made a rap, the Recast T'Challa official anthem, which is how I saw the Recast T'Challa campaign, then saw the hashtag, and then we talked about it last week. He asked if he could come on, talk about the entire movement, and we thought it'd be a great discussion. So, you want to tell a little bit about yourself and the movement and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Really love what you guys have been doing here. This is like awesome. So, but yeah, look, I'm just a film critic. You know, I've been doing it since like 2013. But I'm also like a huge Marvel fan. I'm a comic book movie fan. You know, I'm a YouTuber, so I will do all the fun little Marvel theories and all that stuff. Like, I'm in there, right? So this is my thing, right? I'm also a Chadwick Boseman fan. You know, this is a guy who, when I first started being a film critic, I got a chance to interview. And for those 3 minutes, I thought I could retire. I thought I was done. I made it. That's it, right?
That's a part of the YouTube game. You hit that one thing. You're like, that's it. I did everything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Who cares if I have to find employment for 40 years? I'm out.
Right. So, look, for me, you know, when the news hit, first of all, when Black Panther was a thing, when it actually happened, I was more excited about him than I was Spider-Man coming to the MCU. Now, that's a big deal, but Black Panther was like the thing, right, for me. So I'm losing my mind with that. And, you know, when the movie came out, I mean, this was like unlike anything I've ever experienced in any type of movie, you know, scenario. So, like, I bought out a theater before it was like a challenge because I knew how important it was for kids to see themselves in these heroes. And I mean, to this day, I still get emotional just thinking about how those kids just were so moved by seeing them, you know, these heroes, and, you know, the inspiration and stuff. So, you know, once the movie came out and, you know, we heard that, you know, a couple of years later that Chadwick passed away. I mean, that hit me like personally and professionally. Like, I'm like, what, like my favorite character, my favorite actor. Oh my gosh, like the double whammy, right? And then what, December of 2020, Marvel comes out and they say, hey, Chadwick was so iconic in this role. We're just not going to recast. And I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, I wasn't even looking for an answer for Black Panther 2. Like, I was still processing all of this stuff.
Yeah, that Black Panther 2 announcement came pretty prematurely, I think. Right. They were like, yeah, Black Panther 2 and full steam ahead. No time to stop.
Yeah. It was kind of weird the way it happened too, because you had some companies like using it like, oh, we're going to show respect. Like I know Marvel's Avengers were like, we're not going to show the Wakanda stuff because we're going to show respect. And then like Marvel's like, but Black Panther 2's on track. I'm real sorry to see him go. But Black Panther 2, like, wait, what?
Right. I didn't, to me, I thought it was premature because I didn't hear anyone saying, we need our Black Panther 2 right now. Yeah. I think everybody was really understanding, like, hey, if you guys need to take some time, please do. Because we're still processing all this stuff. But, you know, the fact that, you know, Feige said that we will not recast the role. He didn't put any conditions on it. He didn't say for now. He didn't say just for this movie. People heard it that way, but that's not what he said. And it was at that point that it was kind of jarring to hear that you would just end this role that took 50 years to get on screen, has barely had screen time. Like all these little cameos people talk about, he didn't do anything. He got Kappa Shield. Okay. He opened up Wakanda, and I don't think people realize that's not much of a legacy because we don't know what that means yet.
Right.
Opening up Wakanda, I know you guys know in the comics, that opened up Doom, that opened up all this trouble. Other Wakandans didn't like it. So it's a whole thing, right? And so for me anyway, I did like this deep dive into Chadwick Boseman, looked into all his interviews, you know, looked at what his friends said about him, his views on acting and all that stuff. And the one thing that stood out to me was he sent a text to Roland Martin. And this is a journalist who, this was during the time when he was losing weight and people were kind of like worried about him.
Yeah.
And during that time, he texted Roland Martin and told him, I want people to see the role and not me. It's about the role, you know, and it's about what you do with it. People remember the role. Yeah. And it was when I heard him say that, and again, with conjunction with everything else that he's believed in acting and how he viewed the roles he took on were like more important than him, I was like, I actually think it's a better idea to recast this character because, one, recasting has never been a negative thing. Like, never.
It's not new to Marvel.
It's definitely not new to Marvel. But if you
DC recast Batman every other movie.
Every freaking time. And if you look at all of the most popular characters out there, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, James Bond, whatever, they're popular because of recasting.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, even when the next actor sucks, it only makes you appreciate the previous one even more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, can we have the same energy for T'Challa, the very first leading black character in mainstream comics, who's the first leading black character in the MCU? No, Blade doesn't count. That was Marvel, not MCU. I'm like, the dude is literally Black history. We should not be engaging in like this substitution and subtraction with this black character. Whereas all these his counterparts get addition and multiplication. So I'm recasting is not a negative thing. It's actually the best way to honor this guy's legacy and keep his name constantly in the conversation. Right. So that's when I launched the petition. And you know, it's gone viral here and there and it's been doing some things. And you know, I just want to emphasize this other point too. Like the whole recast T'Challa thing, it's not a demand in the same sense as like the Snyder Cut, right? Or release the Snyder Cut movement. That was kind of like a do it or else type of thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Recast T'Challa is more of a statement. It's a statement in which, regardless of what Marvel chooses to do, we're still saying T'Challa matters. Chadwick Boseman worked his tail off. The guy fought freaking cancer, literally to give us more of this character. Yeah. And I'm like, this is why we need to recast, because whatever you do is whatever. Well, actually, I shouldn't say this too, because people have this issue of tying characters to the actors.
Yeah.
One, if the actor thinks the role is bigger than him, we can't do that. And two, it's incredibly disturbing when you tie an actor to a character, because whatever you do to the character, you're doing to the actor. Chadwick already died in real life. That was already tragic. We don't need to kill T'Challa off for like a third time in the movies as a plot device, because whether Marvel does it or not, and I'm not saying Marvel's malicious, I'm not attacking Marvel, I think their hearts are in the right place, but whether they mean to or not, most people are going into Black Panther 2 to see what they do with T'Challa and how they honor Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
If you kick this off with like a funeral or killing the character off, I'm sorry to say it, but Marvel will be profiting off of his death.
Well, that's one of the things we were talking about. Like, I get the argument that Black Panther is one of the few characters in Marvel that it is a legacy. It moves on. It moves to the characters. The actual T'Challa character, though, is what we know as Black Panther, and he has so many stories that haven't been told.
Sure.
But that's what we were saying. Like, how would you even handle this death properly? Because you're going to kick it off. Is it going to happen between the movies?
Right.
Is it going to happen opening on a funeral? Are we going to do something really egregious, like deep fake him onto another actor and then have a final fight?
Oh, no.
And I really also wouldn't like CG Black Panther suit in a battle where he dies. Like, no, that's also not good.
And then the worst of it would be to try and like ham-fistedly honor it by being like, well, let's tie it directly with the actor, like T'Challa got cancer. You know, it's like,
oh God,
what,
no,
like,
please.
Now, what do you say to the alternative of Black Panther is a legacy, and you know, so we're gonna pass the mantle. It'll still be another aspiring black actor, but it won't be T'Challa. Like, what do you say to that as their like olive branch, their attempt at negotiating that situation?
Well, I think, Benny, you should know this too. Like, how many Black Panther runs have there been about other Black Panthers outside of T'Challa and Shuri? Like, has Bashanga had his own single comic series?
I remember looking this up because I honestly, and this is what problem I have with the legacy titles in general. And this goes across the board for all legacy movies.
Yes.
unless you're reading it at the time, you never know what happens. They never make it a big deal.
Yeah.
Like when Thor passed the title of Thor on, which I still don't agree was the stupidest thing ever. Just give her a different name, which is why Valkyrie's great. But anyway, when they did that, if you didn't read that, you were just like, they made Thor a girl.
Right.
You don't know they passed it on.
Right.
You know, and even the times that Shuri has been Black Panther, the general consensus of non-readers of Black Panther are like, they just made Black Panther a girl.
Right.
Like, see, you don't know it's a legacy title. You don't.
Yeah. But let me take that to another level, because that's a great perspective for comic readers versus non-comic readers.
Yeah.
When it comes to movies, we don't go to movies to watch mantles. You've never gone to a 007 movie. You've only gone to James Bond movies.
Right.
Even though 007 is a mantle, other people could be 007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the characters that define the mantle that attract people, because the other main difference here is the fact that, like, well, one, the Black Panther franchise, it's never been about the mantle. It's always been about T'Challa and how he defined the mantle. And even when they bring up other Black Panthers, it's usually to be like, how does that inform T'Challa?
Right.
One way or another.
And not only that, normally when they do these other Black Panthers, it's normally like, okay, so 1,000 years ago, this guy was like, they're never like, this is the Black Panther of 2019. No, like, we had the Black Panther from 1,000,000 BC, or T'Chaka, his father.
Yeah.
Like, the times that there has been a Black Panther in current continuity that wasn't T'Challa, I can't even think of off the top of my head outside of Shuri. And I know for a fact they have been other Black Panthers.
Of course.
I obviously, I would be kind of dumb if I didn't know those facts, being a comic reader, but they never stand out. They've never stood out. It's always been T'Challa.
The reason they don't stand out is because usually they are there to kind of highlight how much better T'Challa is at the job. So it's like,
That's true.
If T'Challa was created to be Black Panther, right? That's the character. He exists. That's why we made him, is to be Black Panther. And then we create other characters to show you how much better he is. Why aren't we just using that character? Like, if he's the best one... Like,
I mean, normally, whatever somebody else takes over as Black Panther, he's off doing far better things.
Other things, right? Yeah,
people like,
exactly.
But what's T'Challa up to? Like, how come he's not being Black Panther?
And listen, this is why I keep telling people it's such a false dilemma that is created in this idea that, like, we can either have one or the other. Man, in the comics, they broke tradition, and this is something I love about the Black Panther franchise. When it comes to Black representation, they elevate everyone. They elevate genders, orientations. They break tradition. They had 2 Black Panthers at the same time. And I'm like, we don't need to compromise those things in the movies, because the comic material's already shown you it's possible to give you even more. So yeah, that you know, and I guess this is like something else I want people to understand. The character of T'Challa was created 1966 during the Civil Rights era with the sole intention of being Black representation.
Yeah.
That's what made Jack Kirby was like, he literally was like, hey, Blacks didn't have a character at the time, so I had to make someone. So I made him powerful, I made him righteous, I made him like, he was the anti-stereotype for how Black characters were depicted back then. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, guys, this character is a cornerstone character. He's not a stepping stone where you just kind of be like, you know, there are other Black characters.
Great.
Yeah, no, like, you can have him there, elevate other people if you want, but you don't get rid of a cornerstone. Like, you build around that.
I would be more okay with them actually doing a mantle pass on if we had gotten all 3 movies out of him. If this was like a Chris Helmsworth situation where it's like, okay, he already did the 3.
Yeah.
We don't want him back for the 4th, but we want to keep going. But I mean, he's coming back, obviously. Or Captain America's a better example where they're like, okay, Chris Evans is done. We're going to move on to Anthony Mackie. You know, like, that's fine.
But you know why that works? Because his story was told.
Yeah.
We don't know. Look, T'Challa has been king in the MCU for only 2 years.
Right.
That's it. He's been dead for 5.
Yeah.
What kind of legacy is that? And then to potentially kill him again for the 3rd time? I'm like, God, what are we talking about when we say, oh no, he's just like, you know, RDJ and Chris Evans? They got their stories told. They had time to develop the character. We don't have that with T'Challa. We don't know what he's going to be like as a king. We don't know what he's going to be like as a warrior, as a father, as a husband, as a brother. We don't know anything. And that's
Well,
why
the first
we need to
movie is
keep pushing it.
incredible.
Yeah.
The first movie was incredible because it set up what was next. Not
Yes.
because it in itself was awesome. It was because I'm so excited for the future of King T'Challa and Wakanda and how this is gonna give ramifications on the MCU and how this is gonna be reflected now that they're on the open. That's what I was excited about when I watched Black Panther. Like, I mean, we probably have different reasons that we were excited about it for obvious reasons, but like my excitement was what this was opening up, the possibilities of King T'Challa and Wakanda. And now that's kind of just, well, what are we going to do with it? And then there's so many rumors of problems from the set of Black Panther 2 already. Like, I'm just like, just recast T'Challa.
Yeah, it's like,
get us
it's almost like maybe they should have waited a year or two and come up with a better plan.
Brilliant.
Than just fast track this thing that like no one was asking for.
Nobody
right now.
was asking for it. And to me, from the very jump, I was like, you know what? When it comes to production, the Disney Plus shows literally take the same movie crews, the same budgets. I'm like, why don't you just do a Wakanda series, which has already been greenlit, by the way, and just do that? Because I don't recall any blockbuster follow-up movies without a main lead character and focusing on the supporting cast and doing world building. I've never seen that be a successful formula. And for me, I'm like, guys, this movie was risky to make in the first place in Hollywood. Some people in Disney or Marvel didn't even want Black Panther to be made. So I'm like, I want everything to be successful for this.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, like pushing this out with the supporting cast and talking about world building, I don't recall anyone saying we need a movie about Wakanda. Yeah. We need a movie about Asgard and not Thor.
Exactly.
What?
No one's
going to that.
No.
And to kind of add to that point, the problem with doing a Wakanda or an Asgard, they didn't spend enough time to develop any of those characters that I care
at all.
Like, sure, I know the rumor. We don't know if it's official, but the rumor is that Shuri's supposed to be taking over as Black Panther. Yeah, she was cool, but you didn't spend any serious time with her. Yeah. He spent half the movie on the other side of the globe with Martin Freeman. Like
Black Panther has a great supporting cast, and we know virtually nothing about any of them except for like Okoye.
I think it's Okoye. Yeah, Okoye is the only one who showed up.
She's in the most of them. She's in the most movies.
Yeah.
And we talk about like the Black Panther being a franchise. It ain't. It's one movie. So he's in the biggest movies of all time. Like T'Challa's there, but like as a franchise, Black Panther deserved and was on track to get the same status, the same size as a Captain America, and Iron Man, Spider-Man.
The three movies, the crossover potential, the show potential. You're supposed to get all of that.
Yeah, and the excitement of having him pop up in other people's movies, which he does, but like to die, you know.
Look, this is why like the What If writer AC Bradley, when they were shooting like his final scenes or whatever, she had said that. Matter of fact, I have the quote right here. I'll just read it. She said, he cared very much about how T'Challa is portrayed. Chadwick understood how important it is that T'Challa stands shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Captain America and Thor and Iron Man, that future generations and the generation of today need to see a black man as their hero.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, yes, he should get the same treatment as Iron Man and Tony, and Captain America, because again, and I push back against this idea that recasting is disrespectful. Recasting happens when you see value in the character and their story. Yeah. If Hulk was not a big thing, if no one cared about Hulk, he wouldn't have been recast. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It's all about what are you trying to say in your story. And T'Challa's story deserves to continue and be told.
Yeah.
I disagree with recasting as disrespectful unless the actor or actress is still alive and got fired for something out of their control. Then it's a disrespectful situation.
Yeah.
But
it can.
Edward Norton being fired and being recast. That wasn't disrespectful. And T'Challa Chadwick passing on and then getting recast so that the story can continue to be told, I don't think that's disrespectful. I think it would have been if they did it within 3 months.
Right. But not to mention, like, even his older brother, Derek Boseman, has come out and fully supported it. He's like, yeah, my brother Chadwick would want this to be recast.
Yeah.
Because of the power and the impact of this character, especially for little kids.
Yeah.
I mean, superheroes are initially created for children. Of course, us adults can, enjoy them too, but they're really made for children. And to me, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, like, what are we telling kids? Sorry, we're going to take away your fictional superhero.
Because a real person.
Because a real person passed away, and we know that hurt, but there are other superheroes that you guys can deal with. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And listen, Benny, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe Marvel reboots even in their comics. They do soft reboots, but
Marvel's
they don't really
like a full
reboot.
reboot. No.
They don't do it like DC does it, where it's like a hard reboot.
Like, there's no New 52 or, anything
The closest
like that.
we had was the Ultimate Universe, and they just did that parallel, and that was it.
So to me, I'm just like, who's really expecting the MCU to reboot anytime soon? We haven't even gotten the Fantastic Four. We don't have the X-Men yet. We don't have, like, Galactus. We don't have a lot of stuff. So you mean to tell me that we have to tell this little kid, sorry, you got to wait until you're in high school before you get your hero again. You got to wait till you're in college to get that representation again. There are other superheroes. That's not fair. Why? Because adults are in their feelings? Come on now. That's not cool.
Well, I mean, and it's funny because you bring that up because, like, we all know Tony Stark passed away, but we're all waiting for the CG one or the Iron Man suit or the something to come back some way.
Now, be honest. And I don't think it's long term, but if Tom Cruise does step into the role, are you guys going to have an issue with that?
No. And that I was going to bring that up because everyone's being recast in the Multiverse of Madness.
Right. Yeah.
Hello? And that's my thing. I'm like, you see, and this speaks to yet another issue with the recasting. It's not a problem if Tom Cruise steps in as Iron Man because, one, Tony Stark's already got his story. We're fulfilled. We got that closure. We're good. It's okay if he comes through, right? But the other thing is, it's easier for people to imagine white characters being recast, mainly because white actors get a lot of opportunities in lead roles. You'll have people say, I can't imagine anyone else playing T'Challa, but that's really because you don't know a lot of black actors that exist that are not named Michael B. Jordan. If you can rattle off James Bond actors, but you can't do one for, T'Challa, that's a problem. That's why you need to recast. Yeah. The leading roles in Marvel are career changing. No one was checking for Tom Holland before Spider-Man. He was doing backflips in his backyard.
I mean, Brie Larson, same deal. She does nothing but promote her Captain Marvel. I mean,
that's the thing.
When she came out, I was like, oh, she was in Scott Pilgrim. That's cool.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But actually, that's why I wanted to bring you on here, because you do bring a perspective that Sal and I don't have to the table. I like to think that, I'm kind of open-minded and I can look at a lot of perspectives, but that doesn't change my upbringing versus, say, your upbringing and how you would look at this situation.
Sure.
So I wanted to kind of bring, before we close this, I wanted to bring this into more of a positive light, though. Yeah. So now that we're all we've discussed the reasoning and why we would want to recast T'Challa, who do you have in mind? Since you're probably going to name far more than I am, because I didn't think about it till you said that, and I'm like, 4, 5. I can get over 5. Hey,
that's good. If you can do over 5, you're better than the average person. I'll say that.
But it was like Michael B. Jordan, Idris Elba. Like, it's all the ones you see everywhere. Like,
right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's a Hollywood problem, because you can only get a couple black actors to, like, be a thing at a time. And that's it. Yeah. Like, what was it, the 90s, 2000s? It was only Denzel and Will Smith. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Prior to that, Sidney Poitier, and, like, that's it, so, but yeah, to answer your question, I mean, look, I will tell you, I think Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, aka Black Manta, would be amazing. Aldous
little
Hodge.
crossover DC Marvel.
Do it. Aldous Hodge, amazing. Yolande Noel, great. Trevante Rhodes from Moonlight, great. John David Washington, if you want to do the Denzel connection, because Denzel had a connection with Chadwick, if you want to do that, he could do it. There's so many freaking talented black actors that people might not see it, but until it happens, you'll believe it. Marvel's not going to miss when it comes to writing a good story and building up a character. You just got to give people the opportunity. So yeah, there's plenty of talent out there.
I mean, I agree. That's why we invited you on here. If I disagreed with, if Sal and I disagreed, and I ran it by Sal ahead of time, if we were disagreeing, we wouldn't have you here. We weren't going to bring you on to debate it. So
wrong.
Now that we've got you trapped, let's talk about this.
No.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. Like I said, this is one of the reasons why I started the petition. Again, not to, bully Marvel, not to, harass them or anything like that. It was, again, just to make a statement. I definitely implore people to go read the petition. Like, don't listen to one person on Twitter who says whatever.
I just hope that it stays. I hope that the message stays true and it doesn't get diluted. Because
listen, yes,
like we were talking before this, as a fan of the Snyderverse and wanting more Snyderverse, I stay out of that because of how toxic it gets.
Yeah.
Like, regardless, that's why I don't get involved in it. And I hope that this stays on point with what it's about and not just, let's jump on board and start problems.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to put it on paper, so to speak. That's why I wanted it to be in a petition. Yeah. I'm like, look, go to change.org/recast T'Challa and read that. Hold us accountable to what's in there. I took hours, days to craft every word of it to make sure that it is clear. It is not disrespectful to anyone. I've taken into account his family, the cast and crew, and the fans. Everyone. It's a low bar. I've basically said, hey, whatever you do, don't permanently kill T'Challa off. That's it.
So
I didn't say he had to be in the next movie. I just said, just don't permanently end the story. That's all.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one final question
Sure.
that I just kind of thought of based on how much you put in. Black Panther 2 is supposed to come out this year, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think of the chances of them this petition actually working to get at least a cameo of the new Black Panther? Because would you be happy if they took everything you said and we closed that movie out? We say that T'Challa is out of Wakanda. The movie's about Shuri and all of them trying to be Black Panther. And the new actor for T'Challa shows up in the ending. To continue being king as a compromise. Like, we hear what you're saying, but this movie isn't going to be about it.
But we made that movie already. Like, it's already done. So what can we tack on in the post-credit scene here?
Well, let me just throw on a quick theory for you guys. Like, because I've said I don't think they have to give us a new T'Challa immediately. I've said, even in the petition, just do an eventual recast. Give people time to adjust.
Yeah.
But you got Doctor Strange, you got the Multiverse of Madness, you got all this stuff happening. You got time travel, multiverse, magic. Like, you can do whatever you want, especially with variants. But the one thing I'll say is that Black Panther 2 could be a quick fix, because a lot of people think that, well, it's already in production. What can you do? And I'm like, Marvel changes stuff in pre, mid, and post-production all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, supposedly Multiverse has been delayed for the two reasons of Batman, and they wanted to add more stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Facts.
No,
which means they're filming in February, guys.
Yes. But not only that, I'm like, all you have to do, throw a timestamp. Literally, just a quick timestamp. Put all the events of Black Panther 2 before the blip. If you put it before the blip, technically T'Challa did die.
Yeah.
That's not capitalizing off of his death because it's within the story. You're not forcing that into the narrative.
Yeah.
That's 5 years that we have no idea about.
Yeah.
And that could be interesting because it could have bigger ramifications to the MCU in general.
Yes.
Because we could finally see how things were happening.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you could have had, the world was in disarray. No one knows what was going on. You could have had Wakanda and Namor and them fighting if you want to. Nobody would know because everyone's still freaking out that half of the world is gone. Yeah. Shuri probably didn't get dusted because we never saw her get dusted. So I'm like, you don't have to go starting from scratch. You don't have to go forcing in a new T'Challa. You could literally just keep that story right there as a placeholder. And I don't know, maybe Wanda screws up the multiverse and just eradicates the timeline. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
It's fiction. It's fiction. it's fiction.
That's
I don't want
your
people
hands
to
aren't
think
tied.
they're
Like,
not tied at all. That's all.
We're doing time travel and multiverse as a regular mainstay now. It's not hard to easily change things around. It's not at this point. And you could even story-wise why he looks different. I mean, it'd probably be a lazy answer, but he stepped through a multiversal portal and here he looks different. Oh, okay, that's all it is.
But let me ask you this. Do you really need an explanation for why he would look different? I mean,
no, but I feel like Disney would want to
this...
give us one is what I'm worried about.
No, yeah. No, I'm just saying that, like, even if they didn't, and they just recast, who's going to be surprised by that? Everyone knows what happened to the main actor. So it's not going to be like, when they switched up Rhodey, we're like, wait a minute. He's a little darker than last time.
Darker, shorter, and a complete, and like 10 years older. Yeah.
Right.
I'll admit, because we weren't doing this stuff then, when they swapped out Rhodey, I didn't even notice. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a bad guy here.
I was like, what the hell?
I wasn't ingrained in the MCU movies though. For me, it was like I saw Iron Man 1 one time.
Right.
And then when 2 came out, I saw 2.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that seems something feels off. But well, that was all I did with it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they were smart enough to put a line in there where he's like, it's me, deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
See, now look. That happened. I just didn't care.
Right.
Because to me, I was like, I just want this story to continue.
Yeah, I don't want Rhodey to die off camera.
Right. Like, what are you doing? No.
Yeah.
Again, they found value in the character and story, and they kept it going. And everyone rolled with it.
Yeah.
It's okay, because we understood, like, okay, well, that just didn't work out. Keep it going.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's
But
fine.
all right, well, I'm going to bring this to a close here because I think we've hit all the major points and you've explained everything. And if you guys want to be a part of this, make sure to keep it in a positive light. And I'll put all the links down below. And the hashtag is literally on his shirt. He came really prepared for this. So you can't get the spelling wrong. It's right there. But I'll put all the links down below if you want to be a part of this, you want to see the petition, you want to check out his channel, and I will also link the anthem that was linked to me, which got me aware of this entire movement to begin with. Awesome. And I once again want to say, and I do highly recommend everyone watch that music video that you created there, because you bring up points that I wasn't even thinking about. Like it's not that I was never against the recast.
Sure.
But at the same time, I didn't think about the recast. I was in the boat of, I'd love to see him recast because I'd love to see T'Challa continue. But if they want to move the mantle, I guess we'll see what those stories tell. That was my stance in general. Sure. You've kind of converted me more towards, no, I'd like to see T'Challa stay. I would like to see him stay.
Yes.
So, but we are absolutely Marvel in DC. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out all of E-Man's stuff down below. And thank you once again for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. And that's it. We'll close out the show.